Good evening, everyone. This is Nigi Adewale, host of the Ekabo Home Financial Freedom Mastermind Group, and I'm excited to be joining you on Wednesday, November 8th, to connect and see how you guys are doing. This is going to be an open session, and I got to say, it's been an interesting week. The word that I have for the day, or at least the sentence I have for the day, is "It's not over until it's over." Right? Where here we go had to actually cancel a deal right around midnight to save earnest money because the other seller's agent was not trying to negotiate. It was a lot going on, but it always seems to happen between 10 p.m. and midnight on the day that it's due. And so we negotiated, we came to a crossroads, canceled it right around midnight, right? Uh, but then the next day, of course, the seller comes back and there's more apt to negotiate this piece. And so, long story short, we're putting it back under contract tonight, which is kind of funny for the same term. So it's not over till it's over. You got to just continue to fight the good fight, take it one day at a time. Liban, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I have a question about the terms that you were mentioning. So you're saying essentially you fell out of contract and then you went back under contract under everything was the same? Was the price different?
No, so the reason we went out of contract is because we were trying to get a financing contingency extended because we didn't have the final answer. It was going to take a couple more days, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so on Monday, this person was really playing hardball. He's like, "Well, no, we're not going to do that." Da 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 da. And typically, you can't even use this. And he was trying to say something to the effect of, "Well, technically, your loan wasn't denied, so you can't use your financing contingency." Not knowing that we got guys, right? So I just called up the person and said, "Hey, man, send me a letter, right? Send me like an official letterhead, right?" We sent that thing, canceled the whole thing, and came back, 2 days later, and now we're negotiating, putting it back under contract.
Nice. Awesome. Okay.
But Liban, I know you are getting over an illness, man. How you feeling for real?
I'm feeling a lot better today, as you know. I'm back on the horse, trying to get things moving. Actually, today I just got a job from Dwayne. So we're on the house. I'm sure you're familiar with the deal. Dwayne, he needs a deck to be built with the spindles and a handrail in order to pass the appraisal. My guys are headed there tomorrow. Should be able to knock it out. And it's looking like it's going to be good. The another piece I kind of wanted to talk to you about is actually a funny story. So there's this kid in my neighborhood who I never knew about this. My roommate actually told me about him. He was like, "Dude, there's this kid who just collects trash." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And so he was telling me this kid knocks on doors and says, "Hey, I'll take your trash out." Lo and behold, one day he knocks on my door. "Hey, I'm taking out trash for $1. In the condo I live in, we have one disposal for the entire neighborhood. So a ton of people don't want to do it. And everyone who does do it, they drive just for that. So this kid, and this kind of shows there's you got to figure out your market. That's a great, because from his strategy, he's 8. He's like 8 years old. So he just goes, knocks. I paid him $1 today. He picks up my trash, takes it for $1. I don't have to do it. I don't have to do it. So to me, it's a win. To him, it's a win. And it's just it was a great little kind of look for the value no matter the situation piece.
Dude, I love the tales of entrepreneurship here. Like, that's a genius strategy. Genius.
No, it's
I'd
so
pay him
smart.
$1 right now.
I'd pay him exactly.
I just gotta pull it from like the backyard to the street, and I hate doing that. So if somebody would say like, "Hey, I'll put you on a calendar and I'll come once a week," and that's probably what he's gonna do. Now that he's made contact, he'll come back.
Yes.
No, I low key want this kid's number for when he turns 18, so he can join the Ekabo home team. Man, that's incredible.
I know. Yeah, no, and it's like, and I'm seeing him expand. He's got a wheelbarrow sometimes, multiple trash bags just going back and forth. So yeah, no, it's really, and it's a smart thing too, because he does it after he gets back from school. So he'll get back. He did it today after he got back from school. 6 p.m. knocked on my door. He knew I was going to be home.
That's incredible.
So like, he's a smart kid, and I gave him he could have charged me $5. I would have given him $5. I'm supporting the entrepreneurship. 100%.
Dude, I love that. And that's a kid that's going to make it, right? He's figured something
Yeah.
out. He's executing. He's not afraid of the hard work. That's
Yeah.
incredible. To be 8 years old doing something like that. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I
To
know.
think I was
It's
selling
great. It's so
candy for like a
smart.
quarter. I should have been on
Yeah,
his level,
no.
man. That makes so much
No, I
sense.
know. No, I know. And I thought I was balling when I was in middle school. In middle school we had a like a career day where we had to come up with a business.
Hmm.
My business was snow cones because I knew it was summertime. So it was the end of the year, summertime. For one day, for like a period, instead of having like science class, they'll have all the 8th graders, 7th graders just have a free period where they can go into our hallway and like buy stuff from our businesses, right? So I was snow cones, you know? Now I had all the different, but the thing about it was our teacher told us we have $20 to spend, right?
Mm.
So I found some ice, grounded it up, put it in a cooler, and then I
Oh,
had
you made it
different
yourself.
flavors. Yeah, I made it myself. So, but I had different flavors. So I remember telling my mom, "Hey, mom," it was like 8 p.m. I was like, "Mom, we need to go to the grocery store." She's like, "Why?" "I need food coloring." "What do you need food coloring for?" "For my flavors." So I mixed grape, so I had like a purple food coloring, and I called it grape. It was not grape. It was sugar and water. All right. I had a green one. I called it green apple. I had a red one. I called it cherry. So I would just, as they come in, I'd say, "What flavor do you want?" And they're like, "Flavor? I'll take grape. I'll take blah, blah, blah," And then all of a sudden now they're going to tell all their friends, "Hey, there's this kid selling snow cones, da, da, da. This is the room." I had so much money that I had to buy a wallet from a kid in my class. He was making duct tape wallets. I was the only person that bought a duct tape wallet from him. And, I had so much money at the time. I was like, "Keep $10. I don't need change."
Hey, come on now. Hey,
I walked out of there.
$10 is balling at that age.
It is. I walked out of there $121. The look on my mother's face, you would have thought I was a drug. She was like, "Where did you get this money?" Like, where did you get this money from? So I respect the young kid.
And Levi,
So
I think we might have lost you, but that is
yeah.
incredible. Okay, you're back. You're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
No, that's incredible, man. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Literally, I did the whole candy thing, right? I didn't do the snow cones. I wasn't that far ahead. So I did the whole go to a dollar store, buy like a bag of blow pops, and sell it for a quarter a piece.
Yeah.
And then my friends from high school know this, but we all used to play like cards and stuff. So we take extra money that we had and we play a game called 13. I don't know if you know 13.
I'm unfamiliar.
13's like it's like an Asian version of poker, right? It's like you have 13 cards. You're trying to get rid of all your cards. I learned it from somebody at school. But long story short, I became an expert at 13, and that's what I played throughout high school, right? So took a lot of lunch money. There was a lot of people that weren't eating lunch because of that piece. Now, I stopped before college because I realized, hey, at a certain point, this can get kind of serious, right? I was like, this is kind of, let me chill with this. But it was fun while it lasted in middle school, high school. I think we lost him again. Desmond, how you doing?
Y'all hustling kids, it sounds like.
Hey, this was a long time ago.
Long time ago. Long time ago.
That's what's up. What's up, guys?
How is your week coming?
Coming good, man. Been busy with the W-2, but necessary evil.
Come on now.
Not evil, I should say.
Business partner. It's your business partner.
It's another of my colleagues. Yeah.
Yep. That's your cash generation. That's the cash
man.
Flow.
Down payment generator.
Down payment generator. Exactly.
Yeah, dude. Other than that, it's been good. Trying to, slowly but surely close on this deal. So we'll see.
Nice.
How that goes with Vin. I think we set the offer to expire end of this week.
Yep, Friday. So we will see, man. And this is one where, follow-up's coming tomorrow, definitely. So it's one where I think we agreed to a couple terms, which is awesome. So we're close. And the main thing is just locking it up. And I was talking about it a little earlier. I don't know if you were on or heard this, but it's not over until it's over, right? Like we actually had a deal. It's very funny. And this is not the first time this has happened, something like this. But on Monday, finance and contingency was getting ready to run out and we needed an extension. And the seller was playing hardball, right? So it got to between like 10 p.m. and midnight. You still don't have the extension signed. I'm blowing this phone up like, hey man, send this thing back, right? We need that extension back. So we end up canceling the deal to preserve the earnest money. And then they start talking, right? So long story short, we're putting it back under contract today for the same terms. It's just sometimes you do have to exercise your right and show that, hey, we're not going to just let you keep the money. You know, like we gotta keep going from there.
Yeah, no, I saw that on Tuesday, right? When I was like, before we went into the negotiation with the seller, I was like, yeah, you know, like I'm willing to settle like 1.5% closing costs, right? 2%. Like I'm trying to lock this thing down is what I was saying. Like, hey, like I don't want this thing to go away. But we stayed firm per, you know, Nee's suggestion and good wisdom. And luckily we were able, like, out of nowhere, kind of like, you know, at one minute he was very firm and like, hey, like, no, I can't do that. Like, you know, I won't contribute any closing costs, you know, from the seller. And then after we kind of explained it a little bit, right? He was just like, yeah, all right, like that sounds good. And I was like, oh shit, like, cool,
Come on
like,
now.
yeah, that works. So definitely taught me a bit about the point of like exercising your right, you know, realizing that, especially, you know, in certain markets, in certain situations, like you have leverage. So yeah, that was a good thing to see yesterday.
Come on now. You're bringing a lot to the table. And those kind of negotiations, it helps to be face to face.
Yeah.
But outside of that, Liban, what else you got going on, man? Any cool deals that you negotiated recently?
I mean, so I guess kind of a cool deal might be the Jason piece, which we were able to. So that was actually originally an off-market property that he found through a wholesaler. And so he was originally going to pay, you know, 300. I talked the wholesaler down. They initially wanted 312. We got it locked up. Way below that. I don't want to disclose the number. We're under contract right now. Way below that.
Liban, we got to get you.
Oh, hello. Here, let
we
me
got to
change
get
my
you
mic.
off T-Mobile.
Let me change
man.
my mic. No, let me change my mic. Hey, hold on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Hey, we can hear you. Just the screen keeps freezing.
Oh man.
No, go ahead. So it was 312 originally. 312, and you got it locked up for what?
Yeah, we got it locked up way under 290. And then I was actually able to negotiate me and Nee's fee from the wholesaler. So he's not even paying us. So that's great.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wholesaling is because you were semi in the wholesaling space.
I was
before.
I was.
That's a tough route to go for anybody that was looking to do wholesaling. It's something I looked into when I initially got started, but you actually doing it. Can you speak to that versus other forms of investment?
Yeah, so it is hard because a lot of wholesalers are not good negotiators, for one. And then for two, they don't know how to actually underwrite these deals. So that's one of the two pieces that I'm sure you get sent, or some other people that might be in the chat. You guys have seen wholesale deals. Typically, their asking price is crazy, and it does not make sense. That's because the barrier to entry for wholesaling has become so much easier now. If you have $100, you can do it with pretty good success because most of the data is public. And so a lot of people, they see, oh, a wholesaler, he made $10,000, he didn't do anything. But you don't see the 300 calls he made and the 700 mailers he sent out 5 times, you know, and the $2,000 he spent in marketing to get that deal. So a lot of wholesalers, you know, like to act as though it's a lot easier to find than it really is.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the big benefits of it, though, especially if you're working with limited capital, is like if you have more time than you do money, it can be a really attractive and like low barrier to entry way to get into the game and like learn 100%. A ton too about like, you know, what needs to go into the deal for it to be attractive, right? So like, I wish I had found out about that, but even more generally, like the, you know, good graces of real estate earlier, right? As we all, I feel like everyone wants to have figured it out, you know, 5 years before they did. But if I had figured it out right when I was back in college, I probably would have been on the weekends. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of
No,
some of the
100%.
parties I hit up, I
100%.
might have been sending out some of the
Yeah.
mailers, man. I'm telling
Yeah.
you. So
No,
yeah.
and to that point, that's
Yeah.
actually 100% the reason so many people do it. And a lot of times also, not a lot of people know about this one specifically, but a lot of times that you're seeing a wholesaler send you a deal, it's actually not his deal. It's another wholesaler's deal that he's what's called daisy chaining, which is just wholesalers have connections with each other because the most important part of the wholesale transaction is the buyer. If you can get the deal deep enough, it doesn't matter. Someone's going to buy it. You just have to find the buyer, you know? So, and to your point about kind of the whole process learnings, I continuously failed at it when I was doing it. But whenever an investor would pass on a deal, I would consistently ask them, why did you pass? And they would give me feedback. So that gave me a lot of information. And it was kind of my boot camp in real estate because I was dealing with extremely advanced investors. So they were telling me this deal is bad because it would work in another market, but this market, the permitting process is a lot harder. They don't allow this, they don't allow that. They have a specific law that doesn't allow you to do. So I was just learning a ton about the market. So in that sense, I didn't necessarily sell a ton, but the skills piece that you're mentioning, it's really good at leveling you up because in a wholesale transaction, you have to be able to negotiate that price. And that is a skill that you can take to any sort of real estate deal because that skill is extremely transferable. Not even in just real estate.
And I think it's translated very well into kind of what you're doing now, especially with the focus on flips and how many flippers that you're working with right now. I mean, Liban's kind of sourcing these deals, getting them under contract left and right. I'm actually going to be tapping into that resource here in the new year because I want to do 1 or 2 flips next year. Not anything crazy, just 1 or 2 flips. You know, get some capital and use that for a couple other deals that I'm looking at. And to take advantage of this 5% down thing. I definitely want to do that. I've been seeing more properties pop up. My eyes are popping out of my head, but I know I have to wait till the next tax return to kind of get through that piece, see what the bill's going to be, and then go buy the next one.
Yeah, I can't imagine what your tax bill looks like.
Dude, it's actually gotten better since leaving the W-2.
I don't know.
There was some painful years. Right? Yeah. This year I have no idea. I literally have no idea what it's going to look like, but we'll figure that. We'll figure that piece out.
Nice.
But one thing I would say, piggybacking off of Desmond, man, the earlier you can get started, the better, right? I got started at 24. That's when I got that first triplex. And, there was a lot of mistakes along the way, but you learn, you just get better and better. I can tell you that I've been having conversations with my nephew since he was like 16, 17. I think it's finally like pushing through because now he's 20 in college and he's got pre-approved. He's getting ready to go try to buy a duplex. I'm like, man, if you could get one at 20, he's going to be set for life. So, yeah, the sooner you can get started, the better. It is. Yeah. My nephew.
Oh, nice.
Ryan.
Yeah. Nice.
He's taller than me. So he's the one that I got to look up to.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. We talk to each other sometimes. We're on Instagram.
Yeah. He's cool.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Okay.
Any questions or anything from the chat? And anybody, this is an open session, so please feel free to join live. We're going to be, and this is Kareem, welcome. We're going to be bringing some more guests on, kind of slacked in that nature. I'm not going to lie, for the past couple weeks. There's a couple other events taking place that I need to focus on. But we're going to be bringing on more guests as we head into the new year, more specialists, and we have a whole slew of folks that I just need to reach back out to set it up. So we'll get that going as we head into the new year. But Kareem, how are you doing, man? And Kareem, can you hear us? You can't hear us? No?
Yeah. I think it might be his, he's still waiting. It's like
it's on his audio, but we'll shoot a message over to him. You hear
in the meantime,
Kareem, can you hear us? Probably not. But go ahead, Liman, what you got?
Yeah, no. I had a question for you because a lot of our clients have been asking about this.
Sure.
Those assumable mortgages.
Testing.
I know it's a lot more attractive. Oh.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Well, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Just read your lips.
Liban, you said the assumable mortgages.
Yeah, so a lot of investors like them, but coming from my understanding, I kind of want to understand. Someone like me, for instance, right? do they qualify? Like, let's say I wanted to assume an FHA. What would that process look like? Are you aware? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an awesome program to get at least a portion of your bill at a low interest rate. But there's two things to worry about. Well, not worry about. Two things to look at when it comes to assumable loans. One, you do have to qualify. They're still going to look at you and say, okay, because that bank is essentially going to, it's almost like subletting an apartment, right? If you were to move out an apartment to sublet it, the apartment may be okay with it, but they're going to take that person through credit checks, background checks to make sure, hey, would this person get approved anyway, right? And so you got to go through that piece to assume it. And then the second piece is they're more than likely selling it for more than the mortgage, right? So if you're assuming, say, 200K and they're selling it for 300K, now you got to find a bank, and hopefully the same bank will do it. But now you got to find a bank that's okay taking second position on a home loan, which not many banks are, or have the seller be willing to seller finance the rest of that piece and kind of make that work from there. Those are the two pieces you got to check out for, right? One, qualifying, and then two, making sure that you can cover the rest of that gap, either with another loan where they're like, hey, taking a second home loan, or a second mortgage, or the seller's covering the rest of it.
Okay. No, that makes sense completely. Okay. Then in that case, because I know of some people that is there a difference in qualifications between like FHA versus, VA? And I know some loans that are conventional are assumable, some, but it's like I think they have to have a certain amount of equity built in, I think is what I saw.
And it depends on the bank, right? So the main thing, FHA, most, if not all, FHA and VA, it's all assumable.
FHA and VA are all assumable. Yeah, that piece.
And those are a little bit easier to qualify for. Like credit-wise, if you got 580, you can go get an FHA. Whereas conventional, you got to be, about 100 points higher or so, right? Like in the higher 600s to be able to have a bank say, yeah, we'll go with that person. For the assumption of it, that's one of the main differences from that piece, aside from like the down payment that you'd have to put down. But
Gotcha.
I'm actually ideally, if I was going to do something like that, and I'm working on a deal right now, I actually had an appraiser go and check out a property that we manage, where the owner's looking to sell it because they're investing elsewhere. They're building up a huge portfolio. And so we're getting it appraised. I want to see what the value is. And whatever that delta is, I'm basically going to take over the property, quote unquote, subject to the mortgage, but then have another note where I'll pay the rest of it off. But there's not going to be anything that's paid or due until 3 years from now. So I'm doing like a 36-month note.
Balloon?
It's a balloon. I can pay it off early with no risk or no penalty. But what I'm looking to do is, 3 years from now, we've got the the World Cup coming into town, right? And things of that nature. And this is in a part of the town where there's a lot of gentrification happening. And so what I'm betting on is that this house is going to be worth more, and I'll be able to either refinance it or sell it and kind of make up that delta at that point. But until then, I'm just going to short-term rent it. It's one that we manage. So it's pretty simple to take it down, put it under my name, and put it back up.
Yeah, someone in the chat said, okay, Pace Morby. Yeah, I'm actually reading his book right now. So that's why I was asking. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
You said what I was wondering too. So I was just gonna say, is assumable the same thing as subject to, like Pace Morby does, right? They're not, right? So assumable, it sounds like you're actually like taking the mortgage from them versus like subject to, you're just making the payments on their behalf.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Subject to is like a document, right? Like that you have like a contract. Hey, we're taking the title of this property subject to that mortgage. And then if you got to pay a difference, you'll pay a difference and kind of figure that piece out. Assumable is you're literally going to the bank. This loan is assumable. I'm the person that's going to assume it. They qualify you, and then they just transfer the same document over, and you just keep making the payments.
Now, the reasons someone would do that, are they typically the same reasons? Because like they might be, I don't know, underwater or like about to like need some cash up front. Like, is it typically the same reason someone would do that?
Well, I want to guess, your position, it's if he sells, the tax liability is not worth it. So he's actually going to get more money on like if you just look at the timeline, if he does this, because he doesn't have to pay a bunch of capital gains and stuff like that.
That would be a good guess in normal circumstances. What it really is the home's not selling at the price that he needs. He put a lot of money into the rehab,
Okay, I got
right? A lot of money into the rehab. He's making money from the STRs, but he needs to get this burden off of his taxes so he can like kind of keep moving and building what he's doing with the townhomes. And so he wants to lock in a price. It's just the market's not giving it to him right now because he waited too late with the interest rates going up, right? And so if this was like early last year, yes, this house would be gone. But at this point, it's not, because that mortgage is pretty steep, right? And so for me, I'm like, hey, this is fine. It's already, I can take a lot of the cost out of this, right? He's got to pay management fees and all this other stuff. For me, it's kind of a mute point. So when I look at that, I'm like, okay, there goes the profit right there. So I'm good hanging on to it, making some profit. It's almost like doing a rental arbitrage with the quote unquote option to purchase, right? We'll call it there. But except that I'm actually on the hook for it because I believe it is going to go up, and I'll be able to either refinance or sell it and kind of make that piece happen.
Got you. Well, to that point, a deal that, remember I told you a while back, I was working on that deal where I front the rehab, they do. So that was a creative thing that we learned from Pace. And essentially what it was is it was it's like a novation, kind of. And a novation is essentially, it's an agreement between two parties without the consent of the third, is what it means. But what it means in real estate is basically me and you can do a deal and the bank doesn't have to be aware of it because the bank's going to get paid. So on that piece, the way I found it was next to a property that I was showing for another client. Called the seller. I said, hey, what are you looking to get for the house? He was looking for $270. I was like, okay, that $270 is possible. What does the inside look like? He sent me some pictures. I'm like, okay, we can still do this $270. I went inside. It had changed from the pictures. So I was like, this 270 point isn't going to work. And also I had agreed to give him 50% of whatever I had made on my exit, as long as I get my money back, right? So everything looks smooth. I'm like, okay, this looks great, etc. And then, my rehab numbers came back. I looked at material costs. I'm like, listen, I can't give you 50% of everything I make because that leaves me with no money. But I will give you 25% of everything I make over. I'm still going to give you that 270. And this is 270 for a home that has nothing inside of it. The inside's fully gutted. And so he was like, no. So I was like, I'm giving you 270. And then on top of that, I'm going to give you probably another 60K off the 25 cents on every dollar I make on sale. And the greed, you're not allowing. And so I just was not, I would have made money, but I'm like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And so
not every deal's gonna work, right? It's one of those where you got to shoot your shot. I tried to do something similar with a home that's right down the block from where I live. Literally, it's like one of two eyesores in the neighborhood where you're walking around like, man, why is that home still here?
Yeah.
And got in touch with the owner. Actually got to visit his other house. Like we had many conversations, and it was all around, hey, how can I take this over with seller financing? But we just weren't able to come to an agreement. He wanted way too much for it, so we had to let that one go. But Kareem, can you hear us?
Oh.
But Kareem, how are you doing, man? I know you were working through kind of a new opportunity, right, with the renter.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome.
And what? So with the arbitrage, right? Is there a top 2 or 3 markets that you've been targeting? Like, hey, I'd love to come into this market for the arbitrage for this reason. Yeah. And for the first one, I'm with you on the nationwide piece. Like you figured out how to do a B&B that you own nationwide, right? Arbitrage is slightly different. It's still the same systems in place, right? But now you're dealing with somebody else who owns the place. Is this something that you would want to test out locally, or you're pretty set on, hey, let me go try another state with that piece and kind of go from there?
Nice. And kind of posing the question in a different way too, like why not Atlanta or even why not Georgia and some of the other cities around?
Mm.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. it's tough. Like Airbnb's hard enough as it is, and then the city wants to like make it impossible.
Yeah.
So it's like it seems like an uphill battle for sure. I feel you. Like I'm like, man, like at any time, it just seems like it could like how when they did in New York, where you think that wouldn't be possible, right? Like like someone could sue, but I think we were talking about last week, like that could take like years, right? Who knows? So it seems. I don't know. It kind of not keeps me up at night, but it's definitely something I've been thinking about. I think a little more and more.
I kind of wanted to ask you guys, since you guys are all three of y'all own Airbnbs, have been in the Airbnb space. What are the factors that you guys look into for a property being a successful Airbnb? And like, I know location, but what kind of location?
Desmond, you want to take this one first?
Yeah. So I kind of stumbled and got lucky, I think, with the property that I found, with it being, pretty close to the airport. So I think a lot of guests come in that way, and I think that's kind of probably going to drive my strategy going forward, just because right now that's what I know, right? And I think your location can be dependent on like what type of property you have, right? So I don't know if the same property that I have, which is a 1-1, it's pretty small. It's not like fancy. I'm not putting like I don't have like they you got pinball machines, stuff on the wall. They got like hot tubs, and my property don't got none of that.
Yeah.
Man. None of that. So it's like, but I think for the type of guests that I'm trying to cater to, and like for the space, like the location that I'm in, that works well. But I don't know if that same property would do well up in like Buckhead, right, or just in a different location that has maybe like a different type of guest pool. So I think that's something to keep in mind too.
Gotcha.
Kareem, what are your thoughts?
There are just some sort of reasoning behind why. So essentially, you guys are looking at there has to be a reason for someone to stay here for 3 days, whether that be the zoo or they just flew in from the airport, or to your point, they're a nurse and they're working at this hospital.
I'd rather it be more than 3 days though. Personally, I'd rather it be consistently every day, right? Hopefully, it's driving traffic, not just the weekend. Something to keep in mind.
See, and I'm more in that camp, right? So when I look at this, it's two things. The first piece is location for me personally. I'm looking at location because the whole point I started doing like the STRs and the MTRs was because I wanted to get houses in awesome neighborhoods that was going to appreciate, but the long-term rental doesn't necessarily work, right? The first full house Airbnb that I purchased got for $460 in East Atlanta Village, and the long-term rents at the time were $2,700. Doesn't make any sense, right? Whereas with the STR, it pulls in between $3,500 in the low months and $6,300 right per month. In the summers, it doesn't do less than $6,000 for those 4 months, which is amazing. But more important than that, the time since ownership, it's gone from $460 to being worth a little over $550. It's closer to like $575, depending on interest rates, right? But it's between like $550, $575. If I listed for $550, it would sell quickly. And so the equity piece is what I'm looking at first. And then I look at the AirDNA numbers and I'm looking for that 15% roll at a high level, right? Now there's one caveat to that. The property that was just purchased, the fourplex up in Snellville, the numbers on AirDNA actually don't make sense for that, right? Like I would not recommend a client to do that. The reason I did it is because we've done enough of these and been able to put some unique quirks in there. To Desmond's point, I'm like, okay, there's just not enough B&Bs out here. We could potentially set the market. I'm looking across the street. I'm like, there's a La Quinta literally within walking distance. There's an extended stay Holiday Inn. I'm like, okay, let's see what we can do here. And so we have the second unit that's going up live toward the end of this month. I actually have people delivering stuff there right now. Hope they don't mess that up. I'll give them codes on stuff. Hope they don't mess that up. But they do, Hey, I put it on Do Not Disturb, so we'll figure it out in about 10 minutes. But long story short, that's one where we're taking a risk and kind of setting the market there. And I believe that we can beat the numbers that were on AirDNA. And right now we're off to a good start. First month we did about 3,500, which is awesome. So long story short, I'm looking at location, and I like that spot because it's Gwinnett. I like that spot because it's a fourplex, and each of the units is huge. And it can work as a long-term rental once we update all the units. So I plan to use 2 as a long-term, 2 as a short-term. So I'll start with location, then I go to AirDNA, and then kind of go from there.
And then a follow-up question for you guys. Are there unique places that you've seen that typically have a lower list price but higher AirDNA numbers? For instance, I don't know if you remember, but the deal that we helped Robbie on, that the agent on that house, she owned a short-term rental in Athens, and it was one that she managed, but essentially it was just a regular house, and it was under market, but she kind of customized it and called it the dog house, put a bunch of Georgia Bulldog stuff all over the place there. And I think that kind of caused to go up because now people are going and staying there for games.
Yeah, agreed. And you're saying what other areas have you seen?
No, I'm
we
saying,
seen that?
no, I'm saying, yeah, essentially, yeah. What are those kind of? What are those areas? Kind of, what are some things that you've done? And like, for instance, when we found out about Gainesville, that was one I always point to, because houses in Gainesville are like 250,000, but they're pulling like 60, and you're like, what, Gainesville?
Yeah. So to that point, personal favorites so far, right? I really like the Decaters of the world. That's been crushing it in some of the midterms and things of that nature. Like literally, we have, I want to say like 6 units that we manage out there, and 4 of them right now have midterm renters. They're paying absorbent amounts. I don't know why. A couple of those are insurance folks. A couple of those are like construction folks. I don't know what's going on in Decatur, but that's been going on there. And then I like the Mariettas of the world as well, because you have the proximity to the Atlanta Battery where the Braves play. You're like 15 minutes from there in Vinings, but you don't have those prices yet, right? Marietta is going to get more of the appreciation than Mableton, right? But it's closer, and there's some nice things in Marietta. You got Marietta Square. I was actually just up there earlier this morning working on the STR license because Cobb County officially released theirs. It's simple, by the way. It's like $55. You just fill out a couple documents, get some things notarized, send out those letters, and boom, you got a license. I actually I put it in the car, but I got my license for the art house. So I need to go hang that at some point when there's nobody there. So we'll figure that piece out. But we got a question from AJ. Random question for the section. And Kareem, I'll kick it to you. How do you handle guests who inquire about monthly stays on Airbnb and you want to take it off platform, right? Especially with the policies prohibiting that. How do you work around that?
At G. Hey, I love it.
Love that. And that's similar to how, we would do it, especially pre-booking. If they've booked already and now they're looking to extend, 2 things. One, if somebody books, you should already have some type of messaging inside your units, whether it's a QR code, whether it's something to say, hey, book direct next time and save on fees, right? So they can reach out to you. So after they've already booked, you get their phone number. I would just text them. Like we've had plenty of guests say, hey, what could you do if we extend for 6 months or something like that on the platform? And we'll just not even respond and just text them, right? So, hey, let's figure this thing out and we'll work it out. And then, but before the booking, you typically don't have all that info. So you got to be really careful. We've started to implement some VAs into our team and messaging. And we've had 1 or 2 instances where we've gotten threatened from VRBOs and the Airbnbs of the world because it wasn't handled correctly. So we had to hey guys, if somebody asks this, just pause for a second. Let's talk about this and make sure that we word it right. So we had to create some canned messages to Kareem's point.
I didn't even know Airbnb had a way to catch that stuff.
Yeah, they're using AI too, man. They are using AI too. Mm-hmm.
Wait, sorry. Catch what? My internet cut for a sec.
Desmond, you like me out here, man.
No, I'm not as bad as you, but not bad.
We're talking about the so if somebody reaches out to you through Airbnb or VRBO and they're asking about, hey, can I book month long, things of that nature for discounts, and you want to take it off platform, but you've got to be careful because of Airbnb. How do you handle that?
I see. Okay.
Do you have any tips for that?
Do I have any tips for that? I don't, because I now try to keep everything on the platform. I haven't started my direct platform yet for his hospitable, so I think once I start that, I might start having those issues. I did hear of where I don't know if it was Uni or maybe on our podcast, but where the email is taken down when they sign up for the Wi-Fi. So when they get on the Wi-Fi, they take the email down. Like you can send out discounts that way. But other than that, I haven't like. I try now to keep everything on the platform because I've just gotten nervous. I've done like the Cash App, like hey, just Apple Pay me, and like we can do the night. But that just makes me nervous now. Just having gone through like nothing, no major issues, but like having stuff come up, it just makes you think like what when things do go awry. I don't want that to be the case.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Anything else that's top of mind from anybody on the chat or on live? Okay, guys, I appreciate you joining tonight. We're going to call it. Again, we got a couple guests that we're going to start lining up toward the end of the year and then heading into the new year. Can you believe it? We're already less than 60 days to the end of the year. Man, if you've got some goals that you're close to, this is the time to put the pedal to the metal, get after it. And I look forward to catching you guys next week.
Mm-hmm.
See you guys.
So look, we're all having